Welcome back to Birds of a Feather. This is your daily Baltimore sports podcast. My name is Nathan Stroud, and today we're going to be going over the Orioles walk-off win over the Pirates. And no, this isn't, the same episode as yesterday. This is a new episode today, September 10th, 2025. Where the Orioles walk it off back-to-back days in a row, and they also have 4 walk-off wins in a row. The past 4 Orioles wins have all been from the walk-off. It is the longest streak in franchise history. This is the most amount of walk-off wins that the Orioles have ever had in a row, so the Orioles making some history tonight. And if you guys remember, the Orioles, for like a good month and a half or 2 months, were the only team in baseball to not have a walk-off win back in mid-August. They were the only team that didn't have a walk-off. And it was like that for quite a while, and finally Jackson Holliday walked it off for the Orioles on the first one, and now the past 4 Orioles wins have all been walk-offs, which is just crazy. Baseball's a weird sport. Baseball is a super weird sport, and this is where we're at right now. 4 walk-off wins in a row, which is just insane. Dylan Beavers gets the walk-off today. He had a base hit that went to the right side, down the line, on right field. If you go back to yesterday's win, it was a pop-up over by the left field line, and obviously there was the misplay by Tommy Pham where he dropped it and went on the line, and then the Orioles walked it off from the Samuel Basallo hit, or not even really. I mean, it counted as a hit, but it really wasn't a hit. But if you go back to today, Dylan Beavers saw that Basallo had his 2 walk-off wins, and Beavers wanted to get in on the action, and he walked it off today with a very, very much harder hit baseball than the one yesterday. Went all the way down the right field line, and obviously all that mattered was the final run. It was Jorge Mateo scored the last run of the game, and the Orioles won this game 2-1. So the past 2 games have been pretty low-scoring games for both teams, but the Orioles were able to win both of these games, which means that the Orioles have now won this series over the Pirates, and they're going to be going for the sweep tomorrow. But the Orioles walk it off over the Pirates for the second day in a row. Obviously, they walked off the Dodgers for the first 2 games of that series, this past weekend. So it's been an insane sequence for the Orioles here recently, and it's been a lot of fun to watch this team go out there and do their thing. And obviously you look back at the season as a whole and all the injuries and slumps and pitcher problems and all the stuff that's happened this year, and this is really like peak Orioles baseball right now. They're 9 games below 500. They've cut it down to not being in double digits anymore, which is nice to see. They're 9 games below 500. They're 68-77. And obviously there is only a few weeks left of the season, but we move forward. Obviously they play tomorrow, and we'll see what happens there. It'll be really cool if they win 5 wins in a row from a walk-off, which would be insane. But later on in this episode, we're also going to be going over and talking about a little bit of Ravens practice news. Today was the first practice of the week as they prepare for the Browns on Sunday. And we have some quotes from some guys. Marlon Humphrey talked. Cal Van Noy talked. We also have some injury reports that I want to go over for both teams as we head into the game on Sunday. We're going to discuss this game more in full this Saturday when we do the game preview. But obviously, every single Ravens practice, we're going to update all with any sort of info from there. So we're going to go over that later on in the episode. But right now, let's just go over this Orioles win. So going over this Orioles win, the Orioles win this game 2-1 over the Pirates. Again, a very low-scoring game. Yesterday, the Orioles walked it off in a 3-2 win. Today, it was a 2-1 win. So not a lot of offense in this series, but the Orioles did go against Paul Skeens today, and Skeens, obviously, he shut it down. He was incredible today. He lowered his ERA to a 1.92, but Skeens only got through 5 innings of work and only gave up 2 hits in those 5 innings and had 8 strikeouts. Other than the 2 hits, he was perfect. No walks, no runs, 8 strikeouts. He was incredible, like always. But only 64 pitches. I don't really know necessarily why they pulled him early. I guess they just wanted to get to the bullpen early, but then the Pirates bullpen came in and did give up the 2 runs for the Orioles to walk it off. But the pitching in this game for the Orioles was amazing. Tyler Wells got the start. He was fantastic. Got through 6.2 innings of work, almost 7 innings through this game. Gave up a home run. He gave up 1 solo home run in this game to Spencer Horwitz, and that was the only thing that he gave up. He gave up one hit. Obviously, the hit was being the home run, the 1 earned run, 1 walk, and 6 strikeouts. So the only real blemish on his on his outing today was the solo home run that he gave up, and that was it. That was the only hit that he gave up, obviously the only run that he gave up. So Tyler Wells within an incredible day in his second start back from the injured list. His ERA is down to a 2.31. Sean Dubin went out there, 0.2 innings, gave up a hit, gave up a walk as well, but didn't give up a run. Cade Stroud was perfect through his outings. Riku Garcia was perfect through his outings, and Albert Suarez was perfect through his outings. And Albert also got the win in this game, 2-0 this season in his recorded wins and losses. Obviously, he came back recently from the injured list, so shout out to Big Al. Shout out to Big Al for really holding it down recently and looking really good since he came back from the injured list. So we pretty much already went over all the pitching. The one run that we gave up was from Tyler Wells. It was a solo home run by Spencer Horwitz. Only one run given up in this game, though, across all 5 of the pitchers that pitched for the Orioles today. That is very, very good to see. And it's really good to see Tyler Wells go out there and pitch very well, because he can be a very key part in this rotation going into next season. So we'll see how he kind of finishes out the year. We'll see how he finishes out the season. I think it's going to go very well for him, so that's very exciting. But going over to the Orioles offense, again, not too much happened. Only 2 runs scored in this game. 7 hits, though, in this game for the Orioles. Jackson Holliday went 1 for 3 with an RBI and a walk. Jackson Holliday continues to play well. He drove in 1 of the 2 runs in this game. He actually drove in the run in the 8th inning to tie the game. And then, obviously, Beavers brought in the run in the 10th to win it. Jeremiah Jackson went 0 for 4 in this game. Gunnar Henderson went 0 for 4. Ryan Mountcastle went 1 for 4. Basayo went 0 for 4. Colton Cowser went 1 for 3 with a run scored. Dylan Carlson went 1 for 3. Daniel Johnson went 1 for 1. Dylan Beavers went 2 for 3 with the game-winning run, walk-off run scored. And then Kobe Mayo went 0 for 3. So, Colton Cowser, Dylan Carlson, Daniel Johnson, Dylan Beavers, they really put in the work in this game. Dylan Beavers was the only player in this entire game, both teams included, to have multiple hits, and obviously one of those 2 hits was the walk-off win, the game-driving walk-off win for the Orioles, where he brings in Jorge Mateo for the win. Shout out to Dylan Beavers. He's looked incredible since we called him up. And obviously, Basayo's had his moments. He's extremely young. He's the youngest player in baseball. His average is down to a 190. But again, like I said, it doesn't really matter for me what happens for the rest of the season. Basayo already has 2 walk-offs in this season. This is his 18th game. So Basayo has shown plenty of what he's capable of doing for the Orioles, and just shout out to Samuel Basayo, because he's had some great moments. Obviously, his 2 home runs in that span. He's hitting the ball extremely hard, but he is striking out quite a bit because he's just trying to chase, and again, he just has to adjust kind of back to the major league level. So Samuel Basayo will be fine. If anyone starts freaking out, if anyone starts worrying that he's going to be a bust, they need to calm down, because Basayo will be just fine. We signed him to an 8-year extension, and this wasn't even his rookie year. His rookie year starts next season. He's going to have a full spring training to get ready and get right with the guys. So there's a lot to look forward to for Basayo. And I'm saying this like he didn't walk off the game yesterday. So, but Dylan Beavers, he's been incredible. A 305 average, a 453 on-base percentage, and a 441 slug. He's been incredible for the Orioles and a mainstay in this lineup going into next season and beyond that. But overall, not a lot of offense, but obviously it was enough to win the game. Another walk-off win for the Orioles. They walked off the Dodgers in the first 2 games of that series on Friday and Saturday, this past Friday and Saturday, and then they walk off the Pirates yesterday and today, which is crazy. That's back-to-back series wins for the Orioles. If we go over and look at their recent games that they've actually played, obviously they've won the past 2 against the Pirates. They have actually won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They've won 7 of their last 8 games, and they've won 8 of their last 10 games, actually. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, they've won 8 of their last 10 games. Their only losses being that big loss to the Giants, and then also the loss to the Dodgers on Sunday. So they've won 8 of their last 10 games. They've won 7 of their last 8 games. This Orioles team is on fire right now. They're playing very good baseball. And if we go over and look at the standings, again, it doesn't really matter. We're 9 games below 500. But hey, the Orioles still are in it in the playoff race. We're not officially eliminated yet. I don't really know why I'm bringing up the playoffs. This team is not making it. We're 9 games back of a playoff spot. But hey, man, you gotta believe. Maybe we'll go on a massive winning streak to end the season. But this is peak Orioles baseball right now. They're playing very good. This is the peak of Orioles baseball as of right now. They're playing amazing, and I'm really proud of these guys because obviously this is the final few weeks of baseball. We got actually I think 18 days left until the end of the season for the Orioles, and yeah, man, it's really cool to see this team go out here and play well in the month of September and also just kind of end off this season on a high note, and then hopefully going into next season they can kind of use that momentum. Also, whatever they do this offseason, kind of use all of that, bring all of it together, and then go into next season and have a great year. Because obviously the expectations are going to be high again next season. Probably not as high as they were this year, but they're still going to be high. So shout out to the Orioles. They've been playing great. Very, very, very fun baseball recently. And then tomorrow, the Orioles do play tomorrow against the Pirates early. So I'll put a video up sometime tomorrow afternoon talking about this game. But it is going to be Cade Povich on the mound. Hopefully against this very rough Pirates offense, he can go out there and have a good game. And hopefully the Orioles can win this game. And then there's a weekend series against I'm pretty sure it's against the Yankees. It's against the Blue Jays this weekend in Toronto. So got some big games coming up for the Orioles, and hopefully they can get it done tomorrow and get the sweep. Now going over some stuff related to the Ravens, switching up sports here, going over to some Ravens news. If we look at the injury reports from today, obviously today is Wednesday, going over the injury reports from today, the Browns injury report does look pretty big. Compared to the Ravens with only 4 players on it. But going over the Ravens one first, Jair Alexander was limited in today's practice due to a knee injury. Obviously, everyone can say what they want to say about Jair Alexander, but I do personally think that the best thing that we can do with Jair, I understand what happened on Sunday. I understand how bad he looked on Sunday. I understand how much he got cooked on Sunday. And I also understand that he is not 100% healthy because he was dealing with this knee injury for like a month. And also, Jair Alexander is just somebody who's known to be injury prone here recently. So, a lot of Packers fans were commenting on Twitter and stuff like that, just talking about how we should have expected this, and probably we should have. I think most of us did expect him to not necessarily play an entire season, but to have Jair Alexander, prime Jair, the Jair that we know and love, ready to go for the playoffs. I think that was kind of what we were hoping. But I do think that Jair Alexander, is he going to play this weekend? I don't know. Is it better for him not to play? Probably. It probably is better for him not to play. And I'm not saying because he's bad, because by no means am I saying that Jair Alexander is bad. I do personally think that what happened on Sunday probably was like the worst showing he's ever had as a NFL player in a game. He had multiple problems that really put the Ravens in a bad position in that game. But Jair Alexander, he's limited in today's practice. I don't know if he's going to play. I don't necessarily, even if he is available and ready to go for this Sunday, I do think that John Harbaugh and the coaching staff and Zach Orr and all the guys related to the defense, I think they are going to kind of take a step back on Jair, and they really want to kind of ease him back into action because if this knee injury is really going to affect how he performs on the field, teams are just going to kind of target him because they know that he's injured. They know that he's not 100%. So teams are just going to start targeting wherever a Jair is. And it's kind of, it really does affect the Ravens in that way. And it really is kind of a burden to the Ravens in a way. If they're just going to keep throwing to where Jair is, and they know that Jair isn't 100% fully healthy, and they can't cover this guy or they can't cover this receiver at full health, then teams are going to kind of expose that on the Ravens, and they're really going to try and throw them kind of like what people did against the Ravens last year, where they were throwing to Brandon Stephens, but Brandon Stephens wasn't hurt for the Ravens. He was just garbage. So teams were just throwing where he was on the field, and 9 out of 10 times it worked. Really, like 10 out of 10 times it worked, to be honest with you. But Jair Alexander is someone who obviously has the respect of a lot of people, but if teams start to see that he's hurt and that he's not playing well on the field, but he's still out there, teams are going to target that. So I do think it's best to kind of ease him back into action and also make sure that he's 100% healthy and ready to go. I don't even know if he's ever going to be 100% healthy, but I guess as close to 100% as you can possibly get, because I really do want Jair to bounce back this season. Obviously, it's only been one game, and I will say this about this entire situation. for like, I mean, there's people like freaking out about the loss, and I understand. Obviously, I had like a little bit of a crash out episode 2 days ago, and also on Sunday. But it is week 1. This could have been if this was a playoff game and this exact scenario happened in a playoff game, like the exact same way that they lost on Sunday, if that happened in a playoff game, it would be a way, way, way bigger conversation. We'd probably still be talking about it at full capacity now. But it is Wednesday. We're in the middle of the week. It's practice week. They're focused on the Browns. And I think just like the Ravens players and team is focused on the Browns, I think that the fans need to be as well. Because going back and just talking about this loss does nothing for us. I understand the extent of it, and I understand there's people that might not want to hear that, but it's week 1. I mean, it is week 1. We're 0-1. We're heading into this week with a chance to be 1-1. We're heavy favorites, obviously, against the Browns. We have a chance to be 1-1, and then we move on from there. Obviously, the loss was horrible. It was a horrendous loss, but I think that we will be okay. This defense just got to tighten up a little bit, and I think that John's really got to get these guys. We got to hold these guys more accountable and also just be a little more aggressive on these guys, because this team has Super Bowl aspirations. And I think just kind of being like the power of friendship and not necessarily, and just kind of relying on pure talent and not actual chemistry and skill, or pure like just, if we're just relying on the skill and the talent of people, it's not going to work. We need to make sure that the mindset is strong with this team, and I think that's obviously up to the coaching staff to do. But going over the rest of the injury report, obviously Jair was limited in today's practice, but other than Jair, everyone else listed did not play today on practice. Isaiah Likely was a DNP on today's practice. This isn't a surprise. Isaiah Likely not going to be playing this weekend, I'm sure. We're probably going to be waiting until the primetime home game against the Lions on Monday Night Football next week, because it also does give Isaiah Likely an extra day to recover for that game. So I could definitely say Isaiah Likely coming back in week 3. That's kind of what that's been the timetable for a while now, to be honest with you. So Isaiah Likely hopefully coming back next week against the Lions. I doubt he plays this weekend, but he is looking very, very, very close to returning. This one was a surprise. Nnamdi Madubuike was out with an ankle injury today in practice. He did not play in today's practice, and if Madubuike does not play in this game, then this defense is going to get even worse, because Madubuike was him and Kyle Hamilton really were like the two only people that really showed up to play on the defensive end on Sunday. And Madubuike obviously recorded a sack in that game. He was the only sack that Josh Allen had. And Madubuike looked incredible. He has one of like the highest graded pass rushing D tackles in the league in week 1. So we kind of need Madubuike out there, because the pass rush already isn't amazing for the Ravens. And hopefully Madubuike is going to be out there. Hopefully this isn't something too serious, but he did not play today, and hopefully tomorrow he'll be back and ready to go. Patrick Ricard still was a DMP on Wednesday. John Harbaugh did say that they expect to see him playing this Sunday, but for him not to play today, with like only 2 practices left, is a little bit concerning, but hopefully Ricard is back soon. And Ricard makes a big difference for this Ravens team, because it really is just an extra pure offensive lineman, and he's been a very important part of this Ravens team for a while. So getting Pat back is very important. Getting Isaiah Likely back is important. Then obviously, hopefully Madubuike is healthy and ready to go. But going over to the Browns injury report, because their injury report has some pretty big players on it. First of all, one of their main guards in Joe Petonio and their main tackle in Jack Conklin, both of them were limited in today's practice. One of them was from rust, so Petonio should be good to go, but Jack Conklin did not play in the practice today due to an eye and elbow injury, so that is something to look out for. D-tackle Michael Hall was limited. DeJuan Jones was limited. And then Quinshon Judkins was a DMP, because I think that he was visiting the NFL's office talking about his suspension. So Quinshon Judkins, he has a crazy story. With like, he just signed like last week. He was a second-round rookie, went to Ohio State, one of the best offensive players in the draft class. So he might actually play on Sunday, but I'm sure it won't be in a big role. And then the biggest injury to me, the biggest one on this entire list, the one that probably stands out the most in terms of importance for the Browns, is Denzel Ward. Denzel Ward was limited in today's practice due to a shoulder and Achilles injury. That's 2 different injuries. I don't know the severity of either one, but if Denzel Ward does not play for the Browns defense this Sunday, it is going to be a hell of a lot easier for the Ravens to go out there and score points, because Denzel Ward, obviously one of the better corners in football. Obviously they have Myles Garrett, who we understand how big of a problem he's going to be. But if Denzel Ward is not out there for the Browns, it is looking a lot better for the Ravens in terms of their offense, and especially in terms of airing the ball out. So that's a big injury to kind of watch. Obviously, the Ravens have Isaiah Likely out, Ricard out, Madubuike out, some of their important injuries on their own. But if we go over some of the other stuff related to this, related to today, obviously we have some different quotes. Calvin Noy, he said 1-1 sounds a lot better than 0-2. I think he meant to say, he said, well, earlier the tweet was like 1-1 sounds better than 2-0, which was very weird. Calvin Noy said 1-1 sounds a lot better than 0-2. That is kind of how numbers work there. But Marlon Humphrey said you've got a fleshless week and try and go 1-0 this week. That is the mindset that this Ravens team needs to have. Also, they were talking about the DeAndre Hopkins catch, how it's a legendary. Obviously DeAndre Hopkins making that one-handed catch, looking like prime DeAndre Hopkins. And then Calvin Noy said, I think that this is one of those games where you need to look at yourself in the mirror. He is obviously talking about just the loss last week, how it was. So the Ravens players are kind of holding themselves accountable. They understand that it was an embarrassing loss. They understand that they should have won that game last week. And the players understand it. They know. And then at this point, the only thing you can do is just move on, put your best foot forward, and win this Sunday. But thank you guys so much for tuning into and listening to this episode of Birds of a Feather. If you like this content, make sure to subscribe on YouTube, follow up on Spotify, and also make sure to like the video on YouTube as well. Also, make sure to click the link in the bio of whatever platform that you're listening on, and follow the Twitter, follow the Instagram. There's a lot of live tweeting going on over there, and also on Instagram, I post updates on every single time an episode is out. Again, I appreciate all the support that you guys have given me. Some big things coming very soon. And again, I'll have an episode up sometime tomorrow afternoon, talking about any sort of Ravens updates from practice, and also going over the Orioles game, where hopefully the Orioles sweep the Pirates tomorrow. So a lot to go over tomorrow as well. I'll see you guys the next week. Have a great Day. Go O's, go Ravens, and I'll see you later. Peace out.